Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining me for today's edition of the Danielle Daily. I'm your host, Danielle Watson. We are here for one of my November fireside chats. Very excited about the fact that I finally got the fireplace working and that we can hold these chats here all throughout the month of November, every single weekday. We may even stay near the fire throughout the month of December. We will see. So far, things are really interesting this week. Today is election day here in the US, and it's very interesting looking through my Facebook feed, seeing how people are feeling about that, seeing people's check-ins coming saying that they voted. So here in the US, we're about to have a big change, and we've all been expecting it. We've all been ramping up for it, and whether it goes the way you hoped it would go or it goes the opposite of that, we all kind of knew this change was coming, and so we've all had time to prepare for it. But what do you do when life brings you an unexpected change or an unwanted change? That's what I'm here to talk to you guys about today. So thank you again for joining me. I'm Danielle Watson. This is the Danielle Daily. The Danielle Daily is about delivering something to you each weekday that is either inspiring, fun, or positive. So every time you come here, you can count on finding something that will add something fun, positive, or inspiring to your day. And I really appreciate you guys joining me here. It's so much more fun when you guys interact. It looks like Amy is joining us. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you. So talking about how to deal with unexpected or unwanted change. And like I said, today it's election day in the US. We're about to have a major change. We've all been preparing for it. Whether it goes the way you want it to go or it doesn't go the way you want it to go, you've had some time to sort of think about that and to deal with it. But sometimes life brings us a change that we weren't expecting or that we really don't want, but we have no choice but to deal with it. So what are the steps to take when we find ourselves in the midst of an unwanted change? Looks like Julio is here. Thank you so much. I appreciate you tuning in. So unwanted change can be extremely uncomfortable, but it doesn't have to be. Unwanted change can actually be an opportunity. It can be an opportunity for you to grow in a direction that maybe you didn't expect, but that you've been really wanting to do. It looks like Gordon is here. Thank you so much. Julio says he's late because he's voting. Awesome, that's good. So I was just talking a moment ago how we're talking here today about unwanted or unexpected change, and this is a big day of change here for us in the US because it's election day and there's going to be a change in our leadership. But we've all had years to sort of come to terms with the fact that this is going to change. We're all expecting it's going to change. Whether we like the change that happens or we don't like the change that happens, we've expected it. We've been preparing ourselves internally that there is going to be a change. But in our regular day-to-day lives, it's not uncommon for life to deliver us a change that was really unexpected or maybe even unwanted. So in my life, I know one of the unexpected and unwanted changes I went through was a divorce. And that was not something I planned for my life. It was not something I wanted for my life, but it was a situation where I wasn't in control. There was nothing I could do to stop it. I did everything I could, but in the end, life brought me that change. I was going to end up on the other end of that, whether I wanted to or not. And so what I had to do was figure out, how am I going to navigate this change? What am I going to do with this change? How am I going to handle it? How am I going to come out on the other side? So today I'm going to talk through some strategies that we can use when life presents us with an unwanted or unexpected change so that we come out on the other side of it stronger and better than when we went into it. So I'm excited to talk about that today. I'm curious if you guys want to share any unexpected changes that life has brought you. You know, it doesn't have to be negative. It can be a positive change. I've known several people who had unexpectedly found out that they were having another child, and that was unexpected. It wasn't unwanted, but it was unexpected and it was exciting. And at the same time, it was still a change, and it was something they hadn't necessarily planned for. And so there's a little mindset shift that needs to happen when life presents us with a big surprise like that. So I'm curious, is there anything that you guys have kind of navigated your way through that was an unexpected change or an unwanted change? I'd love it if you type it into the comments. I feel like as humans, we do end up with a lot of unexpected changes in life, and the more strategies we have in place to help us navigate those, the more successful we'll be at coming out on the other side in a position where we want to be. So instead of letting sort of the waves of change beat us down, we can sort of surf the waves of change and come out on the other side going, wow, that was so amazing, what a ride. Jeremy's here. Thank you so much for joining us. So we're talking about unwanted or unexpected change today. Today is election day, and we've all been expecting this change. So even though a big change is about to happen, we've all been expecting it. We've all ramped ourselves up for it. We are all prepared for that to happen. Now, whether it goes the way we want or it goes in a different direction, that's not here or there. The thing is that we have had a chance to prepare for it, but in day-to-day life, there are many, many changes that happen that we didn't prepare for. Now, my stance is that the more often you initiate change in your own life from inside, you decide, I'm going to make a change, the easier it will actually be for you to navigate unexpected change. So the more comfortable you are with making change on your own, the more comfortable you'll be navigating through changes that happen that maybe feel like you didn't initiate them or they were something you didn't want. Jeremy said, this video is on fire. Stop, drop, and roll. Yes, we are doing fireside chats this month. Very excited about that. I'm a little concerned about the glare, but so far nobody but me has had a problem with that. So I'm hoping that that's not distracting for you guys, but yes, this video is on fire. I love that we're having these fireside chats. It's a lot of fun for me. Jeremy says, Bruce Lee told us to be like the nature of water. Yes, I love that. Somewhere I heard that water is actually the strongest element on earth because eventually it will wear through anything. And I don't know that that's scientifically true, but I like the idea of it, that water is soft and flowing, but it is persistent, and it will eventually make its way through anything. You know, water is what brought us the Grand Canyon. It's such an amazing piece of the earth, and it was brought to us by something that we think of as very soft and flowing. Jeremy says no glare. Awesome. Okay, so I think I adjusted the camera a little bit better today so it's not distracting, so appreciate that. Thank you. So what do you do when life brings you an unexpected or an unwanted change? I would love it if you guys have any comments that you'd like to add about how you have successfully navigated an unexpected or an unwanted change. I'm going to give you some tips that I have personally used, and I'm also going to give you today's note to self. And I'm really excited for what kind of discussion gets started around this. Zurian says that is true about water. Yay! Okay, I love it when I actually have my facts right. That's really helpful. I didn't Danielle-ize that. I talked a little bit about that yesterday, how sometimes I will take in a piece of information and I'll tweak it a little bit so that it works for me or it proves a point that I want to prove. And it doesn't actually resemble where I originally got it from. So I'm glad to know that I did not Danielle-ize water, that it is actually the strongest element on earth. And I love that idea that something so soft and flowing and really nurturing is actually strong enough to eventually move through anything, and that it will overcome anything. So when life presents you with an unexpected or an unwanted change, what do you do? Well, for me, the first thing that I do is just let myself have a good cry about it, or a good anger about it, or just feel whatever emotion first gets sort of punched inside of me. Just let myself feel that. Let it flow through me so that I'm not stuffing it down, so that I'm not carrying it with me. Just let that response be whatever it is, let that reaction be whatever it is, get it out. And then I sit down and I think about, okay, I felt that, I moved through it. How do I now want to respond? And what I found is that when life has brought me unexpected changes, when I look back, the long game on that was always a win. So even though in the moment it felt cruddy and it felt like something I didn't want to go to, and I felt like I just wanted to kick and scream and resist in every way possible, I've lived enough life now that looking back, I can see that every single one of those experiences benefited me at some point down the road. And there are experiences that I've had more recently that I haven't seen the benefit yet, but I know it's there because I've had enough of them. So when life hit me with an unexpected change a little over a year ago, it hit me with divorce. That was something that was unexpected. It was for my life plan, and it was unwanted for my life plan. And what I did is, after I felt the initial anger and sadness and frustration, I sat there and I thought to myself, what do I want to get out of this? Because there wasn't any way for me to control it. I was going to end up with that experience whether I wanted it or not. And so my point of power was to decide, where do I want this experience to take me? How do I want this experience to grow me? Who do I want to be on the other side of this experience? So after allowing myself the initial response, we'll call it the response, the initial kicking and screaming and crying session and sobbing into the phone to my mom, after that, because we do need to feel our feelings, we do need to allow ourselves to experience our humanity, we do need to allow ourselves the full range of emotions, because if we don't, we tend to bottle them up and to just like let them putrefy and carry them forward with us. So my philosophy is that it's better to just let yourself have whatever initial response you have, really turn it up, let it flow, let it come out of you, and then to sit down and decide, okay, how do I want to come out on the other side of this? And for me, what I wanted to come out on the other side with was really understanding what unconditional love is. That was the challenge I gave myself. I thought, you know what? I have to go through this horrible experience, and mostly what I've seen is other people coming out on the other side with a lot of anger and hurt or guilt or just hatred. And what I'm going to come out on the other side of it with is knowing what unconditional love is. That no matter what somebody puts me through, it doesn't change that I love them as a human being. And so I took steps to do that. So I want to read your comments. So Zurian says, just adapt and overcome. Life is life. Yes, adapt and I don't know, overcome is a strong word. You know, I think if you're thinking of overcome as in adapt, yes, I would agree with that. Jeremy says, don't waste time on why. Yes, it's so true. That, you know, it's so easy to get into that victim thinking, why me? Why is this happening? And the truth is that it just is happening, and all you get to do and control is, you know, how you're going to go through it and where you're going to come out on the other side. Zurian says, it is water flow and it's pressure. Hey, it looks like Tim Bischoff joined us. Thank you so much for being here. So we're talking about navigating unwanted change that's unexpected. And so what I've been recommending is that when life presents you with a change like that, first of all, you just let yourself feel however you feel about it, get it out, have the response, whatever that is, anger, sadness, frustration, hatred, whatever it is, let yourself feel that, and then sit and decide, okay, what is it I want to get out of this experience? How do I want to grow through this experience? And who do I want to be on the other side of this experience? So when life hit me with an unwanted experience that I didn't want to have, divorce, I decided that what I wanted on the other end of that was to understand what unconditional love was, to be able to allow somebody to feel what it was they felt about me, to allow somebody to do what they needed to do, and for me to just say, okay, I will, you know, I have to go on this journey with you, but it doesn't have to make me angry. It doesn't have to make me bitter. It doesn't have to make me hateful. And in fact, it doesn't have to change that little deepest place inside of me that knows that this is a good person who's just doing the best they can, and to love them in their humanity. And so for me, an unwanted and an unexpected experience turned out to be this amazing prize, because I allowed myself to feel what I felt, and then I decided what I wanted out of it. And by supporting myself and growing myself and allowing myself to take in that experience, I came out on the other side really, for the first time in my life, understanding what unconditional love is, that you can just love someone regardless of how they behave, regardless of whether they're in your life or not. Unconditional love doesn't mean just putting up with somebody's crap and being okay with it. It just means knowing that that's just not important, and that you see past that into somebody's soul, and you see past them into your common humanity and your common divinity, and you just kind of look past all of the outward stuff they present. And it's such a powerful feeling to be in that place. So I'm curious, what kinds of unexpected or unwanted experiences have you guys had, and how have you benefited from them? How did you deal with them? How did you grow? How did you become more because of it? What did you gain on the other side of it? I like to say that the long game is always a win. And for me, that has been so true. Every single thing that I've been through in life, whether it was something that I initiated the change or life brought me an unwanted or unexpected change, later, I've always been able to look back and see how it benefited me and how it grew me as a person and how it took me to something that I did want. And I'm curious, have you had the same experience, or do you feel like, things just happen in life and sometimes we never benefit from them and they're just horrible? Maybe you're having a different experience. I'm curious. So it looks like Nelson joined us, and Elena, thank you so much for joining me. We're talking about unwanted and unexpected change today. Again, if you're just joining us, this is the Danielle Daily. I'm Danielle Watson. As Jeremy said, we're on fire here today. We have fire. We are going to have fire all through the month of November. I'm very excited about that. Sitting by the fire is one of my favorite things. Maybe one of these days I'll even do an evening broadcast, and we can have a little wine and we can do a little cheers through the phone. That could be fun. So Nelson says, be open to wanting love for that person and for yourself, no matter how painful it feels in that initial moment. Just because your past may not be the same anymore doesn't mean that either of you are bad people. Life changes. That's the hardest lesson I've ever learned. And Nelson, those are very, very wise words. Yes, life changes. Just because your paths are not the same anymore doesn't mean that either of you are bad. You can wish somebody well, you can love them, and you can release them. And that has been a transformational experience for me, understanding that I don't need anyone to be anything or to behave in any way for me to just choose to love them, to think that they're pretty great no matter what they do. And the feeling of freedom around that is just amazing, because it puts me back in control. I get to decide who I love, and there's no standard that they have to meet. It's just a choice that I make, because I choose to love them because I am love, and that's what I want to be, and that's who I choose to be, and that is what I choose to develop in myself, regardless of what experiences I have in life. I'm always trying to become more love. So what other experiences are you guys having that feel like, okay, this is uncomfortable, this is unwanted, this is unexpected? How I don't really like this, but I know that I want to grow from it, and I know I want more. It looks like Carol has joined us. Thank you so much. I'm loving the thumbs ups and the hearts that are going across the screen. Those hearts are awesome. You guys make me so happy with those. I love it when you share this broadcast. I love it when you comment. Your comments, I think, are more valuable than anything I have to say. I actually posted that yesterday, and I said we had this wonderful interactive discussion, and I think the comments that you guys contribute are far more valuable than anything I have to say. And that's really why I wanted to do this show as a live show. I really considered doing it as a podcast where I would, speak into the microphone and then you could listen to it later. But what I really wanted was for us to have a two-way conversation, because I feel like you guys are out there living, so many different things than what I'm living, and the perspectives you bring and the experience and the wisdom that you bring to the Danielle Daily is just invaluable. I couldn't do the show without you. It would not be the same. Carol says, here I am. Hello. Mwah. Love you. So here on the Danielle Daily, the things that you can always expect is something inspiring, positive, or fun. So I hope the idea that you can navigate unexpected change towards bringing yourself into alignment with who you want to be. You can use it as a tool for that. But the other thing I really wanted to bring home was that idea that the more comfortable you get with initiating change in your own life, the more comfortable you'll be navigating unexpected or unwanted changes. So I know that I throw myself into the fire. It's funny that we have fire here today. I throw myself into the fire on a regular basis and do things that I really don't know what I'm doing because I want to get really comfortable navigating change. That's one of my life goals. I want to be able to participate in life and not feel like it's knocking me down, but rather instead of that wave of change coming and like beating me down and pushing me down, I want that wave of change to come up at me and to go, woohoo, it's time to surf, and to understand how to ride that wave. So it's a practice of mine to stretch myself, to put myself out there and actually welcome change into my life, to look for reasons to change, to look for reasons to do things that I have not mastered yet. So remember what I talked about earlier. I said when an unexpected or unwanted change comes, feel however you feel about it. It's okay to feel whatever you feel, whether that's sadness, hurt, anger, disappointment, whatever it is, feel what you feel about it. And then take a moment and think about what you want to receive from this experience, how you want to grow, and who you want to become, and what you need to do for yourself through that experience to accomplish that. Elena says, sometimes I find it hard to love certain people after certain things happen. I think that learning to separate the thinking part of love is hard to separate from the actual feeling of it. There are people in this world who I love and always will, but sometimes it's hard to know that because my heart tells me not to. Yes, learning to love certain people even after they've done certain things is not an easy journey. It takes a certain level of just detaching yourself. So sometimes there are people I love in life who I don't welcome into my life. And I hope that makes sense. So even though I love them, even though I wish the best for them, even though I know they have a good heart and they're trying to do their best, I don't welcome them into my space because, well, it's because of me. It's because I can love them from a distance, but maybe I can't love them in the same room as me because I'm not that evolved yet. I'm still a human. And so if they get in my space, I might not be able to love them. And what I want more than anything is to be loved and to feel love. And so for me, keeping them outside my space allows me to love them, which is what I really want. So I don't know if that's helpful for you to think about it that way, but sometimes there are people whom we love, we want the best for them, we think they're a worthy and wonderful person, but because of ourselves and our buttons and who we are and our sensitivities, we can't allow them into our lives at this point. And maybe that won't always be true, but right now what we want is to feel a certain way, and to feel that way, that healthy way, that loving, strong way we want to feel, we need that person to stay like on the outside. So it's wonderful to send them good wishes, but we don't necessarily welcome them into our lives. So something to think about. Elena says, absolutely makes sense, loving from a distance. My new motto, yay! Okay, so yes, love them from a distance. It's okay to love people from a distance. Sometimes we have this idea that to love people means that we need to welcome them into our life, and even if they're a jerk, let them walk all over us, and that we need to tolerate whatever it is that they're dishing out, because that's what unconditional love means. And I say shenanigans on that. I don't believe that's unconditional love. I believe that I'm still developing my idea of what unconditional love is, but right now what I understand as unconditional love is being able to look past someone's behaviors and their actions and how those make me feel, to looking at the fact that we're both humans and we're both doing the best we can, and just knowing that I love the core essence of that person, but I don't necessarily want to hang out with them. So that's where I'm at right now, and I hope that as I get older, my perspective will become even more inclusive of who I can welcome into my space. You know, at the end of my life, I guess the ideal thing would be to let anybody, regardless of what has happened between us, into my space, and to hug them and to know that I love them and that none of that was important. But I'm not there yet. I'm still working on it. So Mark is watching. Wow, I thank you so much. So we have an international viewer today. If you guys have not checked out Mark's show, it is called Excellence Expected. He has one of the best shows out there. It is one of the top rated podcasts, if not the top rated podcast in the UK. So definitely check it out. I actually did an episode of his show. It's probably been a couple of years now, but Mark does a wonderful job. If you just want to develop yourself, if you want to develop your business, I highly recommend that you check it out. Mark and Nelson know each other, so now they're saying hi. That's very exciting. So you guys, thank you so much for joining me. I'm about to give you today's note to self. If you want to share any more input on how you deal with unexpected or unwanted changes, I would love to have that. Like I said yesterday, I think the input that you guys give on the Danielle Daily Show is far more valuable than anything I have to say, and that's why I'm doing it in this live format, so that we can actually have a two-way conversation. You know, I know there are a lot of people out there in the personal development world who are just pouring out content, who are just kind of giving, advising and guiding on how to live your life, and I think that's wonderful, but you can't actually get to them. You can't actually interact with them, and what I want is for us to be able to interact with one another as long as possible. So please share this with people. Feel free to message me anything that feels too private that you don't want to type it into the comments. And here is today's note to self. I hope you are used to watching by now and that you've got something to write it down. I think today's is really valuable. So what it says is, dear self, get comfortable with initiating change. I'll say that one more time. Dear self, get comfortable with initiating change. You know, I'm not a big sports fan, but my former husband was, and I believe I heard this quote from him, and that's, the best defense is a good offense. So in my life, I've spent a lot of time throwing myself into the metaphorical fire so that I would get used to navigating change. And when a huge unexpected change of divorce found its way into my life, I feel so fortunate that I was used to navigating change and that I had the skill to do so in a way that was fairly graceful, and that I was able to come out the other side with what I wanted from that experience, because I had welcomed the waves of change into my life before. And so even when a really big wave came and initially knocked me down, eventually I was able to, you know, kind of get up on my surfboard and to surf the change and to use it to have an amazing experience that transformed me and helped me get to be the person that I wanted to be more quickly. And so that was very valuable. And though I don't recommend anybody go through that experience, if it is something that happens to you or something that you initiate, you can come out on the other side of it in a wonderful, strong position. And I just send you all kinds of love if that's something that you're dealing with. So Amber is watching. I just gave the note to self. I'll give it one more time. So today's note to self: dear self, get comfortable with initiating change. Love me. I like to put love me, because like I said, the best defense is a good offense. If you have gotten comfortable with making change on your own, when unexpected change comes, you're just going to be that much more skilled at navigating it. So that's what I have for you today. Thank you so much for joining me for the Danielle Daily. I have been Danielle Watson. Please share this with your friends that are navigating change. You know, I know today is a big day of change in our nation, but we've had a lot of time to think about it. And regardless of how it turns out, we all knew a change was coming, but that's not always the case in life. And so I'm hoping that the tips I gave today of letting yourself feel what you feel, letting that all out, and then taking a moment to decide what you want to come out on the other side of this change with, how you want to grow, and who you want to be will help people who are navigating those not so easy waters. All right, I love you guys. I'll see you again tomorrow, okay? Bye. Mwah.